Let's talk some television. When I heard they were making a Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency series, I was excited. In fact, that's an understatement. I was so happy to hear that this was going to happen. And then I watched a trailer, and I listened to the guy who was playing Dirk Gently, and I went, yep, that works. And I saw some of the quirky moments in the trailer, and I'm like, yep. Douglas Adams was a writer that I found very easy to read. His books were very lighthearted. His structure was there, but you'd kind of get drawn into a book, and you'd just all of a sudden go, oh, it's done already. Okay, where's the next one? I went through that with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I must have read those books 10 times each. Except for So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. I think I read that one twice. That book is not very good. But Mostly Harmless knocked it out of the park and brought the whole series back around, and it had this beautiful, wonderful Aragjag tie-in. And if you don't know who Aragjag is, then you don't know who the little crustacean is that gets crushed by the door in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie, which is a moment that made me laugh and applaud, but 90% of people watching that movie who would just be casual moviegoers wouldn't get it. Dirk Gently was in that same universe. It was born out of Douglas Adams writing Shada for Doctor Who. That episode was nixed. So he changed some of the plot elements and put his own character in there, and Dirk Gently is born. I really enjoyed the book Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul. A Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul, the biggest fight in the entire book isn't with aliens. It's not with this big villain. It is the battle that Dirk Gently has with his refrigerator. He hasn't opened his refrigerator for a very long time. He's very scared of what might lie inside of it. There's a small piece of lettuce that sits at the bottom of that refrigerator, and he'll sit for hours and stare at it, and he feels like if he goes over and tries to take that piece of lettuce and break it off, that the fridge will open up and swallow him whole. And it is described in such wonderful Douglas Adams speak that it really is this great thing that nothing happens. On screen, it would be just a guy staring at his fridge and a piece of lettuce that's hanging out of the fridge. And that's it. There would be nothing else to that. Douglas Adams, his wit and his charm makes it work. So I hadn't watched the series. Now I saw all these, everybody's got great reviews, and I've been looking all over today, and I understand I'm in a minority here. I understand I'm in a minority. I started the first episode. Yvonne and I started watching it the other night, and we both hated it. I don't think I hated it as much as she did, because once the gore starts and it's over the top, it's really not her thing. And I thought, okay, so there's a bloody crime scene at the start. It'll clean up, because this is not what Dirk Gently is. And then you got people with swords hacking each other's heads off, and I'm like, that's not Dirk Gently. This is one of those times where I look and I say, you know what, it's gone so far from the source material. It's still got its quirk stuff in there. Like, clearly Max Landis wanted it to be quirky, and he put his little quirky stuff in there, but it doesn't work because it's so fundamentally opposite to the over-the-top violence that populates the rest of the episode. And for me, it just didn't work. And it was jarring. Now, I can watch Ash vs. Evil Dead. I can watch Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But if in the middle of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the movie, Ash with his chainsaw arm came in and started hacking people, I'm probably going to be pretty put off. I found myself put off of this show really quickly. I was, the first 10 minutes, I was like, okay, that's a Douglas Adams type joke. Oh, that's funny. That's typical. When Todd's boss fires him, he's like, yeah, no, you're done. He's like, but I didn't do anything. His boss goes, yeah, but you're done. Yeah, no, yeah, you're fired. That is very Douglas Adams. That is very Hitchhiker's Guide. That's very, a character will say something, and even though it doesn't make sense, they'll go, yeah, no, I better stick to that because I've made that decision, so I kind of have to stick to that. But with just the excessive violence, I just couldn't get into it. Now, it's canceled. And it wasn't drawing a crowd. And I'm going to say, the niche audience that followed it loved it. Thought it was fantastic and creative. But in order for Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency to work, it's got to appeal to a more wide-stream audience. You can't watch this with kids. You can't share it with kids. One of the beauties of Douglas Adams' books is 3 terms to me: fun, whimsical, and PG rated. So I could take Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy when my kids were old enough, hand them a comic book, hand them the books, and say, here, read these sometime. They're fantastic. I could watch this miniseries of Hitchhiker's Guide. I could watch the movies. I could get into it with my kids and really enjoy it. The series that Max Landis put together, you can't. It doesn't have that appeal. So what you're left with is people who are older, or people who've read the books and might be willing to give it a shot, or people who've never read the books and have no idea. Your wide stream appeal is going to be very, very, very limited. Ash vs. Evil Dead had a bonus. Evil Dead's a cult movie. Evil Dead is ultra violent. Therefore, when Ash vs. Evil Dead comes in, he can do all these one-liners. It can be ultra violent, and it doesn't affect the end product, and it doesn't affect its ability to claim an audience, because it's already got that built-in audience. Dirk Gently is not The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. There are a lot of people who wouldn't know what that is. Douglas Adams fans would, but a lot of just your regular casual people aren't going to. And if somebody came into this show going, oh, this is like Hitchhiker's Guide, within the first 5 minutes they're like, this is nothing like Hitchhiker's Guide. This is kind of depressing. This is really dark. This is really, really dark and violent. So that, in my eyes, is why it failed. It was canceled by BBC America, and I believe that's why it failed. You take something in the vein of Douglas Adams' novel, then do the series that way. And I felt they did it a disservice the way it was done. Yes, people liked it. Yes, critics thought it was great. You know what? Critically acclaimed shows don't matter. Blood Drive had great critical reviews and audience reviews too, and it failed its first year. So I'm actually kind of surprised it made it 2 years. There was no way it was going to make it 3. This is just one of those series, and I would hope they'd try it again. I would hope they'd try it with a more family-friendly vision of it. So for me, it's just one of those things that I wouldn't personally watch, and I do wonder how many people just went, this isn't my thing. But again, I know I'm in a minority on this. I'm in a very, very small minority of people who watched it. But how many people went and watched and just saw the name Max Landis and they went, oh, no, he doesn't suit it. That's not right. This really could have been a fun little show. But I will say this. This can never be a top 10 show on TV. This can only be a cult type following of a show like what Hitchhiker's Guide is, or to look way back, almost like a Monty Python in that BBC spirit. It could be a cult show. It's never going to be mainstream American broadcasting. I think the other part that I found kind of was they took a lot of the British out of it. I understand why, but again, it didn't have that same feel. It didn't feel like the book at all. Books. 2 of them. And there was a third that he was writing that never got finished called The Salmon of Doubt. So Dirk Gently, there was a lot of material there, and it's just too bad that it didn't work out. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, and thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.